If you don't know this already, Ohio State's college football playoff opponent on Saturday, Tennessee, plays fast. Very, 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 very fast. Everything they do is quickly, but they don't do it to throw the ball. They do it to run the ball. But it brought up some interesting questions to Jim Knowles. I'm Stephen Means. That's Andrew Gillis, and that's Stefan Krajisnik. Stefan talking a lot about tempo to Jim Knowles because that's kind of the thing of the day. It's the buzzword of the day is Ohio State ready to defend a team who plays this fast and is constantly trying to put you in positions where your defense isn't lined up and things are out of whack and they can take advantage of it. But it's not through air, it's by land. And Jim Knowles was talking as if like, yeah, because this is how we've been designing this defense for 3 years. In fact, for the last decade, he's been doing that.
Well, even for the last 2 months since the Oregon game, Oregon's probably the closest offense they've faced to Tennessee in the sense of tempo. And Tennessee, I think, is even quicker than Oregon is. But this is an Ohio State team that saw what happens when you're not aligned properly against Oregon. That was a big thing that, we keep looking at the Oregon game. We keep saying, oh, they were just throwing it over the top and beating these DBs. Well, it's always a bit deeper than we think. And we heard about that the bye week after Oregon. We've heard about it in the weeks since then, and now going into this Tennessee game of a big issue for Ohio State was they were not lined up properly. They were not ready to go when the ball was snapped. That is something that you have to be good at against this Tennessee team. So Jim Knowles was telling us how they practice. They're built to face a tempo team. They practice. He called them the quickest defensive play calling team in the country, right? Like they practice for this. And that gives me confidence that they can slow this unit down. Maybe even more so now after the Oregon game than like if they hadn't played Oregon, because you'd just be sitting there saying, okay, well, we'll see what it looks like. We've seen that defense flip the switch since Oregon. It's clear that they've worked on things since that Oregon game. And if this is now the next, real tempo team that you're facing since then, this gives me confidence that everything you've kind of worked on has kind of unintentionally led to this moment of playing a tempo team again and being prepared. He was talking about defense having their back turned to the offense before the ball snapped in practice. Just so many different ways to kind of simulate what it's going to be like on Saturday when you face Tennessee. I have a lot of confidence that Jim Knowles, based on his history and based on the way they've talked about the way they practice, is going to have this team prepared to slow down this Tennessee offense.
It makes me want to rewatch the Oregon game and see, okay, how many times did Denzel Burke just get flat out beat versus how many times was he just not lined up because he's trying to get a play call? Because I think about this just 2021 play in the Ohio State-Oregon game where there's literally a touchdown that C.J. Stroud throws to Garrett Wilson where he didn't really beat a DB. The DB's looking at his wristband trying to get the play call. And so Ohio State gets a touchdown out of that, which, again, go tempo, but Andrew drills. I mean, apparently Ohio State's been preparing for this all season.
Yeah, I thought Jim Knowles had a really interesting comment when he said it's almost like playing an option offense. You get out there and it just looks a little different. So, you can do all of these things and then you get on the field and it's completely different, right? I mean, go, talk to the quarterback at Navy and try to have your scout team fifth quarterback, right? Try to run the triple option. It's not the same. It's the same thing with this Tennessee offense. It's not the same because these guys have not only been running it all year, they've been doing it well all year. So, obviously, yes, your scout team can give you a look. Obviously, yes, you can try different things, but you're not really going to know until you get out there. I do think this defense is equipped to handle it. I do think this defense is better equipped to handle it than they were, especially going into that Oregon game. I am curious what's going to happen. There was a question asked of the defensive line rotation and the defensive line snap counts against Michigan. I am curious what happens if Ohio State gets in a situation where, all right, Tennessee just has a 10-play, 60-yard drive. They kick a field goal. They move the ball pretty quickly. They move the ball down the field. Ohio State punts, and all of a sudden the defense has got to go back onto the field. Are we rotating? Are we looking at Ohio State's defense and saying, all right, is this the thing that Ohio State needs to do? Is this the thing that Ohio State wants to do because of this? Because if you get on the field and you have your defensive line on the field or your linebackers or whoever you would want to rotate, and you're, Tennessee, you just kicked off, they're back at their own 20, back at their own 25-yard line, and all of a sudden Tennessee starts to move the ball, there's not going to be a real good opportunity to get those guys off the field. So I want to see how Ohio State adapts to that. I want to see how Ohio State can stop Tennessee in that regard, because that is very, very big, I think, first and second down especially, because if you can keep Tennessee kind of off their rhythm, that's really going to help you. I think Ohio State can handle that. I think Ohio State can do that. But if Tennessee starts to get rolling here, I think that's going to be the big test for Ohio State's defense, right? That's going to be the test of, okay, can these guys that are playing every snap hold up? Can this defense that is going every single play hold up? Because like we said with that Oregon game, you could hold up and you could get the call, and Tennessee kind of matriculates the ball down the field, and then one play you're missing and it's over the top and it's a touchdown, and all of a sudden it's 7-0 or whatever, wherever you're at. So it's a big deal for Ohio State, and I think they're equipped to handle it. I want to see how equipped to handle it they are in the second half as this game wears on.
Jim Knowles said that Nico Iamaleava has a cannon for an arm, and he's faster than a lot of people think, which also is going to play a role here. I think over 40% of his passes have been play-action passes. Now, a lot of that is RPO stuff, so that's going to – what's Nico's decision-making in this game might decide some of this stuff as well. Go get the text, 614-350-3315. Psst. I think they're going to play the jack, and I think it's going to play a lot because I asked, and Jim Knowles went no comment, because he doesn't want to give away his game plan. 614-350-3315, 2-week free trial, $3.99 after that. Steven, Stefan, Andrew, go listen to Buckeye Talk wherever you find podcasts. We'll be talking about the jack, plus plenty of other stuff. Ohio State, Tennessee, Saturday. Deuces.